I hope you're all ready for some cultural commentary because that's what we have today. Starting off with this story. I posed in a bikini in Times Square. I was expecting comments from haters, but what I actually heard was way more disheartening. Now, before I get started, I did a podcast with Reactor and Emily. I don't know if you guys listen to the podcast, the Culture War podcast, where we talked about whether or not fat shaming is okay. And ultimately, I'll speak for myself. I don't think it's a good thing. There are arguments that it is a good thing, that it encourages people to do better. And I understand that, because what happens when you encourage people to feel good about being overweight or out of shape is that they'll embrace it. And it's exactly what we're seeing with like the Real Beauty campaign and things like this. We should be encouraging people to be healthy, to eat right, not to be obese, not to be overweight, because there are a ton of health problems that come with it. However, I personally don't like making the world a shittier place, so I'm not a big fan of making fun of people for things like this. If someone's got a problem, I want to lift them up, and I want to be, kind of like that person going like, you can do it, man, like high five and like get out there. I've been skateboarding my whole life, and there are some skateboarders that you'll go out with and they'll just rag on you all the time, insulting you, telling you how dumb your trick is. And, skateboarding, you're working really hard to accomplish a goal, right? You go out, you say, I'm going to do a trick. I'm going to do a kickflip. The board flips underneath you, and you jump up in the air, the board flips, you land back on it. There are some people that no matter what you do, when you do good, will high-five you and call you the best. And it feels really good to have people around you cheering you on for doing better. And there are some people that will tell you you suck and you're never good enough, and that makes, from what I've seen, people quit. So when I see people who are morbidly obese, out of shape and overweight, and then I see others ragging on them, and I just feel like they're going to reject society. They're going to be like, I don't want to be a part of this because everyone's being mean to me. It doesn't feel good. Some people believe that by making them feel bad, they'll get off their ass and go exercise. But I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. And I could be wrong. There could be studies. We looked at this stuff before, and I don't know. I don't exactly remember all the studies we looked at. I don't have any sources pulled up. We're going to read this story, okay? But I just want to point out that I would encourage this woman and everyone else to try and be healthy, to eat nutrient-dense foods, get away from the sugars and the fats and the other, sugar is one of the worst things. Exercise. There was a post on Reddit where someone said, if out-of-shape people could try out an in-shape body for one day, everybody would get fit. Because the feeling you have when you're out of shape, waking up just feeling depressed and lethargic and everything sucks and you're like, oh, it hurts, versus being fit, everything feels good, it's amazing all the time. That's what people would experience, and they'd want to do better. So let's look at the story. It's basically about a woman who is upset that by wearing a bikini in Times Square, people sexualized her. So it says, Anna O'Brien, founder of curvy fashion blog Glitter and Lasers, wasn't prepared for the comments she received during a public photo shoot. I want to point out, you can see in this photo, this is not obese, this is not fat, this is morbidly obese, okay? This woman is to the point of obesity where she's likely going to die. Or I'm not a doctor, I'm not a health expert necessarily. I know a decent amount because I've been into sports and physical activity most of my life, and I've done a bit of amateurish reading on the subject matter, but I can say it is widely accepted that the weight this woman is carrying will likely lead to an early death. And that's important to point out. Look, no, I mean no disrespect for her. I encourage her to eat healthier and do better. But what she is, the lifestyle she has is very unhealthy, and it should not in any way be encouraged. And you can actually see some of the reactions in this photo. This woman right here, I'm actually going to zoom in on this because this woman right here kind of exemplifies a lot of, and this guy right here, you can see this woman's look of shock and disgust. And to me, when I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm going to do a video and talk about this. This is important. I haven't even read the story yet, and I've been talking about this for 4 minutes. And you can see this guy over here who's also like, gee, like, wow, like he's got his, it's like, look at this. One guy's taking a photo. So here's the story. Standing in the middle of Times Square, it wasn't super hot, but the pressure of what I was about to do was making me sweat. My fingers slipped against the fabric of my maxi skirt, and I fumbled with my tightly knotted bow. My outfit fell away, revealing my pink bikini beneath it. I heard hollers from strangers, but their words blurred into an indecipherable mess as I tried unsuccessfully to remain calm. A sliver of sun peeked out from behind the skyscrapers, reminding me we were about to lose light. No more time for nerves, it was now or never. Let's do this, I said out loud. My clothes dropped all the way to the ground, and voices around me became clear. and she posted this photo of her in Times Square in a bikini, and this is a woman who is morbidly obese. And I think what's interesting about this is that the obesity is the issue at hand. If this woman was like a model and very attractive, or even just average, it wouldn't really be that big of a deal. There are women who actually walk around topless throughout Times Square. Like, yeah, seriously, they wear like red, white, and blue bottoms, but they're totally topless, and people take pictures of them because it's legal in New York, and it's not an issue for these women. And most of the tourists don't care and kind of laugh about it. So if she's saying that this was like a big deal, and the voices, people's voices made clear what's going on, then certainly obesity is an issue, and that's what she's actually addressing here. So she says, yesterday, the scariest thing I'd done in my 30 plus years, I stood in Times Square in a bikini and posed for a photo shoot. In the beginning, I felt really overwhelmed, not because I was mocked, but because I was so extremely sexualized by a few men who were watching. What was so ironic to me was that to the right of me were two nearly nude women covered only with body paint, and no one felt the need to yell or scream what they wanted to do to their bodies. But to me, a plus woman in a swimsuit, the things that were said were so graphic it made me sick to my stomach. One man said he felt justified in just saying what he did because plus women don't know they're effable. I don't know, it's stars, so I'm assuming it says fuckable. Let me be very clear here. A plus-size woman's worth, or any woman's worth for that matter, is not contingent on someone wanting to have sex with them. You don't exist to pleasure someone else. You exist to change the world. Right, but let's be rational here. The way she's posing is meant to be sexually provocative. I mean, is it not? I understand that some people just do things to look good or feel powerful, but typically when a woman wears a bikini and then does like a pose like that, it's meant to be some kind of like sexualization. It's interesting to see this woman in the background who's got a look of sheer shock on her face, especially when you consider what she was saying is that there were topless women nearby. And look, go to Times Square. I go there all the time. Yeah, there are topless women just walking around, and you pay them tips, take photos with them. Seriously, even though it's legal, it's like a spectacle. I want to suck on them nasty toes. Hey baby, let me butter them biscuits for you. I looked up to see three men with camera phones filming me. Our eyes met, and one uttered, "Twerk for the camera, baby. Show them how that ass clap." Tears began to well up. I was prepared to be pointed at, shamed, and called fat. I didn't expect to be fetishized. Isn't that kind of a better response? I mean, if people came around and started like yelling at you and insulting you for being morbidly obese, like that's what she was expecting, but instead the guys liked it. And she's upset the guys liked it. Which is interesting to me because is the only outcome then no one's saying anything? Because if she did stand up and was shamed, I bet you there'd be an article about her being shamed. And she would be like, oh, it's, healthy at every size, body positivity, and everyone was shaming me. But when people actually react positively, I mean, you can call it negative, it's a bit, over the top, but when the response is that they like what she's doing, she's also upset with it. So I'd say, look, if you're going to put on a bikini, drop your clothes and like do a pose, and then a bunch of guys start yelling at you, I think that's probably what you should expect to happen. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying guys should do it, but you're posing, right? It's different for the, I should say it's really interesting that women walk around topless and it's not a big deal, but she was being fetishized for being a large woman. When RTL, a German news channel, reached out to me to film a documentary-style shoot about life after a Las Vegas photo shoot that went viral, I was the one who suggested Times Square. I could have picked a park, a hotel, a pool, literally anywhere else in the city. I chose this. Before I'd shot in hotels or on beach boardwalks, but I'd never snapped photos with so much attention on me. Positive attention. So, look, this woman's got nearly 300,000 followers on Instagram. People are into whatever it is she's doing. The world only really sees plus imagery that is perfected and somewhat vanilla. Usually that of smaller, perfectly proportioned, curvy women. It didn't need another stock image of an hourglass figure in an indiscernible space wearing a one-piece. I wanted to make a statement, and I wanted to be seen. I'm more than my body, and I deserve respect and human decency. I agree that you deserve respect and human decency, absolutely. I also think that you should absolutely not promote unhealthy lifestyles, simply because it's a burden on the healthcare system, it's a burden on society, it's just bad for you. Depression, cancer, so many negative things from overeating and eating bad food and stuff like this. One of the issues I have is that what this does with these body positivity campaigns, with these morbidly obese models, is it makes people normalize morbid obesity. I understand if you want to argue that some people are obese, and they should exercise, in my opinion, but some people are obese and they don't exercise. But obesity is different from morbid obesity. And this woman is morbidly obese. I'm not saying it to be disrespectful. It's literally what it's called. I'm saying it because it leads to very, very serious health effects. And what happens is people who see this woman will say, I'm not fat, that's fat. I'm average, when actually they are obese. You know, obese people will look at a morbidly obese person and think they're regular obese and they're average, when in reality, look, Americans are really, really fat. And it's sort of screwing with the perspective of so many Americans because they assume that because there are other fat, people are fatter, they must not be fat. But no, you really are. And Americans, you got to exercise more. You got to stop eating the sugary creams. You go to Cheesecake Factory and you get that massive, 2,000 calorie slice. Not a good thing to do. Sugar's bad. Get rid of the soda. Get rid of the fruit juice. For breakfast, have some lean meat, maybe some eggs. That's what I do. I try to have make sure I get my vitamins and exercise every day that I can. It's very important. But I think the most important thing is I'm not going to rag on you for being overweight. I'm going to encourage you to exercise and eat healthy because, my God, you will feel so good. And I just want to see more people who are being that positive, really happy coach who's been like, you can do it, man. Run. And then people, lose weight and feel good. That's what it's all about. So, I guess the gist of the story, look, so here's the women, right? They're technically covered up, so I think this is okay for YouTube. They're not displaying anything. They have, I don't know if body paint is qualifies, but whatever. I'm probably going to have to blur this or something. Nah, I'm not going to blur it. We'll see what happens. She said, my tears turned to anger, and then words began to fly out of my mouth. It doesn't make it okay. You're disgusting. Please stop. Please stop. The man justified his response by saying that plus women don't know they're fuckable. Let me be very clear here, as I stated in the caption for the photo I later posted on Instagram, a plus-size woman's worth, or any one woman's worth for that matter, is not contingent on someone wanting to have sex with them. You don't exist to pleasure someone else. Yeah, I understand that, but I also think it's important to point out, should men yell at women with these things? In my opinion, absolutely not. However, we have free speech. People are allowed to yell things. At a certain point, it does become harassment, right? If you continually do it, and you do it in a manner that makes someone feel intimidated, harassment typically involves doing it more than once, right? So if the cop warns you, hey, stop doing this, and you keep doing it, right now you're facing a potential charge. I'm not a lawyer, don't quote me. But what concerns me as well is this idea that you can dictate other people's behavior. Yes, you can, by all means, I agree with her yelling at this man, saying it's not okay to stop. And then this guy yelled back. That's what happens in public. Personally, I don't agree with it, but at the same time, I'm not going to assert some authority over another person based on what they're saying in public. You just have to recognize that, sometimes people are assholes, and that sucks. Maybe leave. They have a right to be there, and this is a big challenge. But hey, man, free speech. Sometimes people are assholes, and in America, you have a right to be an asshole. And I also think it's important to recognize that being an asshole is such a great thing about America that. The poorest Joe Schmo can look right up at Elon Musk or any billionaire and say, go fuck yourself. And there's a lot of countries where you can't do that. There's a lot of countries where you criticize, royalty or government, and you can face yourself in jail. So at the same time, you take it the good with the bad, and it is what it is. Long story short, this piece is about a woman and ultimately kind of justifies morbid obesity, which I think is just not okay. She says, I felt humiliated and questioned why I was even enduring all of this. I considered stepping down and ending the shoot early. It only had been about 15 minutes, but just when I was about to give up, my eye caught the sight of a little girl in a red tank top and denim overalls watching me. I waved at her, and she returned my gesture with the biggest grin. You're pretty, she whispered. I realized in that moment it had all been worth it. I had been seen. I kind of feel like that didn't happen. I'm not going to call this woman a liar, but if someone told me this story and then said a little girl whispered, you're pretty, I'd be like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been to Times Square a lot, and that kind of stuff doesn't really happen, especially when you look at the shocked image of this woman, in the beginning. But you know what? It is what it is. I think I've made my opinion clear on the matter. I strongly encourage this woman and everyone else to just exercise and eat healthy. I think I've got one more video today for this channel, so stick around.